Well, hello again. We're nearly there, the end of the season, and we've got some fun to report on. Wrexham beat Burton 3-0. Wrexham beat Cardiff 4-2. Happy days. And we got some lovely anniversaries. The Ben Foster birthdays, aren't they? Who knew? I didn't. That Ben Foster's LDV Vans glory with us in 2005 and his penalty save against Notts County 2 years ago were on the same date. Whoa! We we've used the random numbers we employ to identify the days, and they've coincided there. That was so eloquent. I'm very impressed with myself. Also, we've got Kevin Rogers, one of the players who beat Porto and then faced Roma in 1984, and he'll be chatting about those experiences. I'm talking a bit as well about the team he helps out now, Merthyr. But before we do any of that, look who it is, Chay Long and Neil Williams. Well, what brings you two to a place like this?
Of course, it's you, Mark.
Oh, match. My magnetic personality.
I just like chatting absolute waffle about Wrexham for an hour and a bit, and it's couldn't figure two better people to do it with.
Peaceful.
And of course, your dancing skills, Mark, as well.
What's that?
And of course, your dancing skills as well.
Well, the less said about those, the better, I reckon. Nice. Well, I think you've come to the right place, Chay, if waffle's what you're after. Let's get cracking with it. This is Final Whistle Weekly. Welcome back, everybody. If you're watching the video, don't be distracted by Chay's screen. I spotted some ectoplasm behind him just then, but don't worry. I'll edit out anything that's too frightening to keep our 18th certificate, and I'll sell it to Netflix for, I don't know, Haunting of Hill House 7, the city, whatever it'll be called. I don't know. Anyway. On Sunday, I've got to say, oh my gosh, I think my favourite day of the season. And there've been a few good ones, let's be honest, following both Wrexham teams, was the champions Cardiff coming out to a guard of honour from the Wrexham team, and deservedly so. They are deserving champions. And they played in patches. You could see exactly why they're champions, and yet we beat them 4-2. And quite frankly, we deserved. It was a fair reflection. We could have scored more, in all honesty. It was a wonderful, wonderful performance. And Chay, you've seen Abby Iddington's hat-trick. Now, I'm saying that's the best Wrexham hat-trick I've ever seen. Have I got a point?
It's up there. It really is up there. That's, for me, my favourite goal was the second one in particular. Yeah. The touch, left foot strike, it was a real striker's finish, wasn't it? It just off complete instinct, no time to think. The first one was really, really good goal as well.
And the third one?
The third one was brilliant, but it's the second one that really, I think really took my eye. 'Cause it's the touch of the right foot, and then bang, left foot. You know, any striker would be proud of that finish, and especially against a goalkeeper who made some fantastic saves that day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was embarrassed about the goalkeeper because Cardiff's goalkeeper, Karen Chamberlain, is really, really good. And I feel the way the season has gone, Lizzie Craven has reached her standard as well. And I was all primed on the hair trigger to make a speech about how they're the two best keepers in the division. And so when early Rosie Hughes shot drew a really good save, I started making that speech, and luckily Gemma Owen was standing by me and pointed out that they'd rested Chamberlain, and that was Anna Phelps in goal for Cardiff, their backup keeper, who also, as you can see, is outstanding. And I had actually seen that on the team sheet, and then it completely gone out of my head. And so I was, Chamberlain, what a save! And I was about to make this big speech. And luckily, Gemma sort of like is holding a phone in front of me, pointing to Phelps's name. So that's a relief. But I mean, it was funny because when I was doing the Wrexham Anorak the day before for the men's game, what was it? It was the first time we scored 3 goals, the Burton match, in the last 20 minutes of an EFL game since that game against Oxford when we won 5-3, and Trundle scored the most outrageous hat-trick. And I've always thought that's the best hat-trick I've ever seen a Wrexham player score in terms of quality of goals. But I think the other one's better. Trundle's goals were like a crazy, like, dipping shot from about 35 yards, which was just genius. A wonderful finish from the edge, like the left side of the box, right on the edge, where he hit it with the outside of his foot and curled it round the goalkeeper. And then a sort of 6-yard scrambly affair to clinch the hat-trick. Whereas Iddendon's, as you said, all 3 of them were top draw, weren't they? The lob on the run from 25 yards, take with the right foot when the ball's driven across her, and then sidewind the left foot volley inside the post, and then launch it from 25 yards inside the post again. I mean, there were 3 wonderful goals. I'm standing by it. Never as a Wrexham player that I've seen earns the match balls so comprehensively. It was fabulous. Really was.
I am really, really excited for this side next season if they can carry on with that momentum. Add a couple of quality players. They've got to be looking at, we've beat Cardiff twice now.
Yeah,
got to be looking at, really challenging for that title next season. Hopefully, really having a good go because they've got the quality. It's obvious to see. We've beat Cardiff twice now, and that's got to be good for this cup game in a couple of weeks' time. I'm so excited. I think the Adrian Premier League next season is going to be quite interesting because you'd like to think Swansea will be looking to improve after a disappointing ending to the season, wouldn't you? Not ending up in the top 4. TNS have drifted off a little bit, haven't they, since the split? So, and it'd be interesting to see who comes up. I'd really like to see Connors Key go up as well. It could be a really, really interesting and exciting season next year. Honestly, it's going to be fun.
That's right. Yeah. So this Sunday is the last day of the season.
Yeah.
And just as a bit of context as well, I mean, obviously, if we draw at TNS, we finish 3rd again, which is a terrific achievement. And there's a definite build on last year when we also finished 3rd. Because this year we've done it in the grand heroic manner, and we've done it playing in the second phase like the best team in the competition. In fact, if you make a league table of just phase 2, we're top because we won more points in phase 2 than anybody else. That's how being top of the table works generally, isn't it? But if TNS beat us, they will come 3rd, and that will be their highest ever position. And like you said, Connors Key, the Sunday after, could join us and give us 3 teams from North East Wales in the top division. They're playing Pontypridd United in the promotion playoff.
Yeah, they're no slouches either, though, are they, Pontypridd? So yeah, that'll be a good game.
Pontypridd looked decent against us in the Welsh Cup semi-final, but ultimately, it was a comfortable win. They've got a very young team, but deliberately so, and their coach has deliberately, I think, got rid of a lot of players and put faith in the youngsters, and they've won the Adran South. So clearly, they've done really, really well. Connors Key, though, have 100% record in their North. So they're really on form. I think that'll be really interesting, but I think you've got to make Connors Key favourites, I think, probably. And then suddenly the league's looking a little bit more balanced than it ever has with, like I said, us TNS, Connors Key in the north and Aberystwyth Central, and then there'll be 4 southern teams. And like you said, yes, I mean, Swansea in the bottom half have just been winning hand over fist and they're miles ahead of Barry, but that they should be. And just not getting into the top 4 means the season's a total disaster. Their manager's gone. There was a huge meltdown. It appeared that one of their key players had just retired in the middle of the season. Maybe the manager's gone, it might be different. But the fact of the matter is that they've had a big meltdown and they've got to rebuild as well. So that'll be interesting. Plus, can Britain Ferry maintain this? I mean, we saw at the racecourse, they're a tough team to play against, and they've come second and they've done well. So there's a lot to aim at, but we're looking fabulous, aren't we? And we've just got to try and build on that.
I think it's a shame as well the way the league system is ran, really, because you look at the year we got promoted. Connors Quay were brilliant. Britain Ferry were also brilliant. I think it's a shame that the top two teams from the north and the south don't both come up, and then there's a playoff from the two second places. I think at some point they're going to have to really bite the bullet and really invest and expand the league and make it more make it that bit more interesting and stronger. That's my personal opinion anyway. I think it's a crying shame that there's not more new teams if both Pontypridd and Gonski can't represent at the highest level next year.
Well, they developed the men's league is expanding, isn't it? And so maybe the women's league will be next on the agenda. I do think it is a new sport. I sound stupid that women's football isn't new, but in terms of in Wales, we're way behind where England are. And so, I think it's now developing to become bigger than the current setup, if you will, to push boundaries. But then, on the other hand, we've had our under-19s having games called off because our opponents can't get enough players together. So there are logistical problems too. But I'd love to see a few more teams in the top division because I think that'd be how to really grow the women's game. I'd love that.
Yeah, I just think it's a shame that there's no Newport or Bangor or Carnarvon, and there's a lot of football. Again, maybe I am just looking at it from a very simplistic point of view, and the logistics, and it's a really growing sport in Wales, and I do think, especially with the women qualifying for the Euros this summer, I think that's huge for Welsh women's football. Hopefully, if Wales women's side have had some really good results in their warm-up games against really good opposition. So if they have a good tournament, beat England, they're in the same group or something like that. Something crazy that happens. Why not? The snowball will get bigger and bigger, and maybe if we just be patient, give it time, the Adrian Premier League will be bigger and better in 5 years' time. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
It would be fantastic. That absolutely. Can I speak one final comparison between Lee Trundle and Abby Iddington's hat-tricks? The story with Trundle, I can't remember who it was, but he was promised an Armani suit if he scored a hat-trick in that game by somebody who thought he's never going to do that, and then he did. So he got an Armani suit out of it, and Abby Iddington's mum came up to us during the broadcast to tell us that, by the same logic, thinking that she's not going to do this against Cardiff, she told Abby that she'd give her 200 quid if she scored a hat-trick against Cardiff. Oops! I think these player bonuses, I think we should bring this in a bit more. I think Rob and Ryan need to be, sort of offering to cough up, like a gold-plated tank like Lamine Sacco used to have if you score a hat-trick. Yeah.
Armani suit's the most Trundle thing I've ever heard in my life. Well, nice 200 quid bonus.
Very nice.
Take that any day of the week as well. So, a really, really good performance for our women's side, and let's hope they get 2 wins for 2 remaining games, because I've been really, really proud of them the way they turned the season around, because it's been a real bit of an underdog, crazy story, isn't it? Really a real story this season.
I think, guys, they've done really well already this season. Beating Cardiff and Swansea, which you'd never done before. I think it's superb. I thought Rosie was good coming back on Sunday as well. She got a goal again and could have had a second. It's looking really good for the Welsh women, the Wrexham women's team. Mark, how was your trip to Denby? Because you had to go to Denby for the first time to watch them play, and there was a decent crowd there as well watching them.
Yeah, I gotta say, Neil, I thought I'd been to Denby before to see my son play, and he swore blind he hadn't, and he was right. So I don't know where that place was that I saw him play, but yeah, I've definitely never been to Denby before to watch a game. Nice setup, really friendly club, and yeah, it was great. I went with a couple of American fans as well. I gave them a lift. I was desperately saying I've got empty seats. Um, Anybody who's come over, I was thinking the move to Denby might catch people out. It's not in Wrexham. It's nearly an hour, isn't it? And I was desperately trying to fill up my car with people I could give a lift to the game. But I guess our international fans are well brought up and they don't take lifts off strangers. I really did do this, when they're all lining up for the players before the match on Saturday. I was working down the line saying, does anybody want to lift tomorrow? Does anybody want to come to Denby with me to? Oh yeah, when I put it that way, it wasn't very appetizing, was it? But yeah, basically, yeah, I got two takers. We had a hell of a good time. It was brilliant. Oh, and I forgot to say, you know what? Yeah, you get the sensational hat trick by Aberdeen. You get Lizzie Craven making a double save that Gordon Banks would have been proud. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant double save, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. And she got a good assist as well.
So yeah,
she get an assist for one of the goals as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then across the board, everybody's at least a 9 out of 10 in that team that day. It was utterly outstanding. And we rotated as well. We had 4 people who've been playing most of the games on the bench. It's wonderful to see we can do that. And yet the real hero, I think, really was me. Didn't expect that, did you? Well, maybe you did. Because Brooke Cairns was a sub and she had tape over her earrings, but when she actually came on, the ref made her take her earrings off, and so she threw them on the ground by the dugout, and then they couldn't find them afterwards, and I found them. I am a legend. I've never felt more proud of myself. I can't tell
You've played your part, Mark.
I think the result was down to me primarily because of that post-match action. The thing is that, obviously I've not told Mrs. G because I'm the sort of bloke who she'll say, it's in the drawer, and I'll go and look in the drawer and I'll say, no, it's not there. And then she'll have to go and have a look, and it's whatever I'm looking for is the only thing in the drawer. And I won't have seen it. So I don't think she'll take kindly to me being able to find earrings in long grass. So yeah, keep that under your hat, everyone.
Class.
I'm wearing my childhood kit. I'll say that. It's a replica of it. Obviously, if I was trying to wear my childhood kit, it'd look like COVID has started again with my little mask on my head. Because let's have a listen to our guest now, Kevin Rogers, who played in this classic Croswell sponsored kit for Wrexham, and his season coincided with that glorious European run when we beat Porto and then were very unlucky against Roma. And so he was good enough to have a chat with me while Merthyr are preparing for their matches. He's from Merthyr. He went back and played for Merthyr after he'd finished with us, and he's been associated with them for 40 years now. And if results go their way, they're promoted on Saturday. They're expecting a crowd of around 2,000, which wouldn't be the first time they've got those numbers, and which is fabulous, isn't it, for that level of football? And they are a forward-thinking, progressive team. So I think we can all wish them the best of luck. It'd be great to see them climbing up the divisions. And, let's have a listen to Kevin, and particularly listen out for his advice in terms of how to handle an absolute world-class midfielder. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got the shirt up from when you played for us in the background as a tribute. But thank you so much for joining us, first and foremost. I mean, you were in Wrexham last weekend to celebrate, wow, maybe the best results any club's ever had in Europe, us beating Porto. I mean, let's start with the obvious place. That was amazing, wasn't it?
Well, last weekend was an absolute joy, to be honest with you. First of all, to come back to Wrexham, the game was 41 years ago. So most of the ex-teammates that I met last Friday, I haven't seen for 39 years, which is incredible when you think about it. I came up to North Wales, obviously on the back of an invite to this reunion. It was an absolutely fantastic evening. The people, not just the players, the people who were all there made it a fabulous event. We had a wonderful time sharing stories with the likes of Barry Owen and Sean Cunnington and Jake King. You do forget. Time makes you forget that, these were absolute quality people, and we were representing a fabulous football club at Wrexham, and to get together last Friday and share all these stories, just incredible. And then to finish it off, going to a football game with my wife that she went to for the very first time. She's a rugby family in the main, and to go to that Wrexham stadium and to see what has happened there. The story's well documented, but to actually be there, enjoy that atmosphere, hear the crowd singing like they did, see the ground in the state that it's in now, and to see the team come out 3-0 win. I think they call it living the dream, Mark. I think they call it.
So, and of course, you're at Merthyr at the moment, aren't you? And you guys are living the dream too.
Yeah, it's a very similar story. Obviously, Merthyr on a far smaller scale, but I'm actually at Merthyr Football Club as I talk to you today, watching the walking football group, which is the level that I now play at, nice. Which I thoroughly enjoy with some of my mates who are nearly 80 years of age. But we still enjoy a game of football, a cup of coffee. That's we run club, and it's doing very well. But as I said to the people at the that I know from the back, they belong, and hopefully getting another promotion. And as I said, my parting shot last Saturday is hopefully next time I come back, I'll be coming to see you in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get terrific crowds there as well, don't you? It must be. It's such a healthy club, Merthyr, isn't it? It's a brilliant.
Well, they're home tomorrow, and if things went their way, they would actually. Yeah. Oh. It is. I mean, when I finished at Wrexham back in the day, and then I went to Rill, and then I moved, being a Merthyr boy, I came back home in 1986, and I had 10 wonderful years at this football club, winning the Welsh Cup. Obviously, playing Atalanta in the European Winners' Cup, which on top of the 2 games that I played for Wrexham, obviously gave me, great memories in football. But this football club at the moment is being run for the first time in 40 years, exactly how it should be run, just like Wrexham, and the success is coming with it. So tomorrow they're home, they could win the league tomorrow, and it will be a fitting tribute to all the people who work incredibly hard at this football ground if we could win the league tomorrow. But it's coming home, and we won't be long before we be celebrating the promotion with Merthyr Football Club.
Oh, brilliant. I'm gonna leave us just for a second because my connection's a bit dodgy. So just hold on just one moment. I'll be back in about 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
No, I did say it was stopping my end just now.
Yeah, I've got it now.
Yeah,
sorry. You were breaking up a little bit.
That's okay.
I thought it was you. It wasn't, it was me. So sorry about that.
There we are.
Well, let's go.
I'm using the club's Wi-Fi.
Oh, I tell you what, you see, Bertha, you guys got it together. Well done.
So, do you want to go back over that last one?
No, it'll be okay. I'll just edit a little bit when it comes up. But this will be fine. I don't want to waste your time.
No problem. No, you're okay.
Looking at going back to when you came to Wrexham, you were at Villa and Birmingham. You were playing under Ron Saunders, weren't you? As a famous hard taskmaster, I always assumed. And then you made the move to Wrexham. Was that an easy decision to make, or?
In the end, it was a very easy decision to make. As you rightly said, I went to Villa straight from school as an apprentice. I was an apprentice of the year when they last won the actual Football League, which was season 1980-81. Of course, the following year, then they won the European Cup. And I was playing in the reserves at Villa with guys who'd played like 200 or 300 league games who just couldn't get near the first team.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity arose, I moved across to Birmingham City with Ron Saunders, who had walked out to Villa just prior to them winning the European Cup. And I had a fabulous year at Birmingham, playing in what was then the old First Division, playing against Liverpool, Arsenal, home and away. So I had, limited but fantastic experiences of playing against some of the best football players at that time in our country. So we got relegated last game of the season, and I was one of the unfortunate ones who was actually didn't have my contract renewed. I had an opportunity, and I actually met Martin Dobson, the All English and Everton midfield player, at the racecourse with a view to signing for Bury Town. But in the 11th hour, Wrexham, I had a contact from Wrexham Football Club who asked would I be interested in joining them for the coming season. And I think the saying is, and the rest is history. It was an easy decision to make. I was aware that Wrexham were playing European football the next year. Obviously, being a Welsh lad, we all know the history of Wrexham and what a fantastic football club they are. So the decision was practically made for me. And even though I only stayed a year at Wrexham because I didn't do myself justice, unfortunately, for various reasons, I was honoured to play for this wonderful football club that is Wrexham Football Club. I was honoured to play in 2 fantastic European ties with a group of wonderful boys. Truth of the matter was, we struggled in the 4th Division because we were probably too good a football team for that league, which sounds a bit daft. But how else can you explain how we can beat Porto and hold our own against Roma? Yeah. We had some talented boys, Jake King, I'll repeat the guy, Neil Salathiel, Andy Edwards, Sean Cunnington, Jake King, Stuart Parker in goals, Big Jim Steele up front. These were quality people and quality footballers. So I shall always be extremely grateful for my time at Wrexham Club. I will always feel I have an association with the club, and that has just been reinforced after that reunion last Friday and going to the game on the Saturday. It really was for me an eye-opener as to what is going on at this football club and in Wrexham Town, and it really is a case of living the dream, and it's fantastic.
This isn't it? I mean, that Porto game, going into that first match, do you guys think he had a chance? They were full of Portuguese internationals, a hell of a team.
It's a funny one, because when I was at Merthyr, I remember being asked that question when we drew Atalanta. Now, Merthyr were in, effectively, Division 7, which was the Bizarro's Midland League in those days. But I don't remember being asked that question when we were at Wrexham. But obviously, it must have been in everybody's mind. We were struggling really in Division 4, although it was early in the season. But we were struggling to put back-to-back wins together. And then all of a sudden, you go into Porto, who'd lost the year previously to Juventus in the final, and by all accounts, were unfortunate to lose. So we must have gone there with a degree of trepidation. But then I think the 1-0 win in the first leg, where we played at home and the crowd got behind us and all the league, and we thought, well, we must have a chance. After 20 minutes of the game out in Porto, that quickly disappeared, as we all know, because we were 3-0 down inside 20 minutes and we hadn't touched the ball. They were very impressive. But I think, like a lot of European sides, they took their foot off the gas. They thought that was the job done. And of course, good old Jake King came up with 2 goals, one from Mike Croft and then one from Honor, and also in the first half. We go in 2 down and thinking, hey, we got a chance here. A fabulous night, fabulous memories, and Barry Horn's story last week about his dad trying to get over the barriers onto the ground at the end of the game, covered in his shower curtain that he'd used because the weather was absolutely horrendous. That's a story I won't ever forget.
Incredible. So he's covering himself. I'd heard he was in amongst the Porto fans as well, because he worked at my auntie, Barry's dad. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, he was. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, all I remember is I was aware he was there in the game, He must have been in with the Porto fans because it was such a. It's hard to describe how horrendous the weather was that night. You know, coming from Wales, you go to Portugal, you expect slightly better weather, but for once we ended up in an horrendous rainstorm. And at the end of the game, a couple of us went across behind Barry and Andy Edwards, and we could see Barry's father then. And all I remember was him trying to get over this barrier. But I didn't realise the story that went before it, which was the fact that he borrowed the shower curtain from the hotel room that he'd stayed because he hadn't taken any wet weather gear with him. So he'd taken the shower curtain to put around him during the game. He must have been like an absolute drowned rat. And then, of course, he got stopped trying to climb over the fence. And so we say the Portuguese authorities were not very impressed with his actions.
Why would they be suspicious of a man wearing a shower curtain trying to climb over a fence? Ah, shocking, isn't it? I don't know.
It is. I said to Barry Orr, I always remember saying that I think we should have told him that he was Barry Orr's dad, and then because he was the guy who scored the winning goal, perhaps they would have been a bit easier on him. But there we are. That's the way it goes.
They might have been a bit harsher on him as well, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah. As I was saying that, I thought, because he was the guy who scored the winning goal, they might have put him in prison for a couple of months, give him something to think about. But no, it all adds to the rich history of a very special night in Welsh football. And when you hear the comment that this could be Wrexham's greatest ever victory, then that is an accolade that carries a lot of weight, because we all know the rich history of Wrexham Football Club, and especially in European ties. You know, we all watched them when we were kids growing up, doing wonderfully well in Europe. And, that was part of the rich history of the football club. And it's an honour, to be honest, to have been part of a game of football that added to the rich history of such a wonderful football club.
I mean, I was in school at the time, and I remember going into school, my mates all making fun of me because they reckoned we were going to get thrashed at the racecourse. And there'd been a guy on the local radio station, I don't know who it was, supposed to be a football expert, saying Wrexham will do well to keep it under double figures. So that's why my mates were winding me up. But I remember that first match as well. I love Jim Steele, and Jim Steele scoring that goal. They were scared of him. Like I said, we played some very good football. Could have scored more than one, but also having Jim Steele up there, wind up their centre backs, and Barotta in goal as well. Yeah,
Peter Barotta. Yeah, I think again in European football they don't normally come up against a big, athletic centre forward, and they don't always handle them very well. And thankfully for us that night, they certainly didn't handle Big Jim. And as you said, it could have been more than 1-0. I remember speaking to Hugh Johns, who was one of the well-known commentators of the day in later years, and him saying to me that he was so proud that he was able to commentate that night, because Wrexham, in circumstances where we weren't expected to do anything, came up with this fantastic result.
Absolutely. And then we go to Roma. And, I mean, that team, they've got the Brazilian midfield from the 1982 World Cup. Sven-Göran Eriksson's their manager. Ancelotti, all these amazing players who play for them. We really put the wind up on, didn't we, in both matches?
We did. And here's a little ditty, because I honestly didn't... This is how naive we were, I suppose, in a way. I honestly didn't even realise who we played against when we played against Roma. It was only during the COVID lockdown. I remember going onto YouTube and finding an Italian clip showing the game. And before the game, Carlo Ancelotti had been interviewed in the tunnel. And then I saw it took me to actually finding the programme and then having a look who actually played. And as you rightly said, there was Bruno Conti, who's a well-known Italian superstar. Carlo Ancelotti is probably the most successful player come manager in European football history. Then you throw in Cerezo, and then you throw in, for me, what was the main man, which was Falcao. Because he was, he didn't play out in Roma, but he played at Wrexham, and he was just, for want of a phrase, he was a Rolls Royce. That guy was just on a different par. Shouldn't have even been on the same field as us. And I can remember, I told the story last Friday at the reunion. very cleverly, I think I said to Barry, look, I'll get this guy, you Mark Falcao. Because we all knew what Barry was, and Barry was an exceptional footballer, but he was an even more exceptional competitor. So he loved the challenge of having to mark this Brazilian World Cup superstar.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, we came in, and Barry's in the corner kicking the walls. And I said to him, what's the matter with you? Who's upset you? He said, that Brazilian guy, he said he played out there all night. It's poured down with rain all night. He had rubber studs on, and I didn't get near him. I didn't kick him once. And I said, bah, in there lies the story. But I said, that's why we are playing, with all due respect, with Wrexham, and that's why he plays for the Brazilian national team. He was just off the scale.
Oh, fantastic. That is fantastic.
Off the scale, you know, but very humble people. They were very complimentary to us as a Wrexham team. And, you know, it's quite incredible.
I mean,
amazing. But the two programs I found a couple of years back, two of the original programs at my house. So I left them with the people at the event last Friday, which they didn't want to accept them, to be honest with you, because they said, well, surely those programs are too precious to you.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I said, look, these things are to be lived. If you can put them to good use, you know, whether you're raising money for a worthwhile charity, which they were doing last Friday or whatever, please put them to good use. Just make sure they go to a good home, that's all. And I'm sure they will. You know, they're programs from 41 years ago. And I say that, and I think it must be another lifetime.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it was amazing. I remember us going to Rome, and, I mean, they went 2-0. The first one, as I recall, is a penalty, but it was their player who handled it, and the ref made the mistake. And then the second one, I get in the current rules would have been given, but the way offside was interpreted then should have been given offside. So we were unbelievably unlucky not to get at least a draw from Rome.
We were really, because I don't remember him creating that many clear chances. In fact, I had a chance not long from the end, and it was probably a better chance that I should have done better with on the day. But funny enough, we spoke about this last Friday, especially, you know, Jake King is a lovely guy, very knowledgeable man, and his memories of the games was quite clear. And we spoke about, to this day, we still don't know why the guy gave a penalty. Nobody appealed from their side even. So that tells you a story. And if you watch the video clip on YouTube, I mean, the guy who stood right in front of Stuart Parker is so far offside, you just wonder, how did the goal stand, you know? But unfortunately, without speaking out of turn, these things happened in European football back in the day. You know, things would go on, and you know, which weren't really acceptable. And we lost 2-0 that day, and we should never have lost 2-0 in fairness. And I think that would have made the game at Wrexham at the racecourse a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, but we were very good in that game. I mean, I during COVID, I found the full 90 minutes and I put it on Wrexham's YouTube channel. And, you know, watching it back, we played so well against them. You know, it wasn't a lower division team just launching it at Jim Steele. I thought we outplayed them for good chunks of the game. It was a fantastic performance.
It is. It's incredible, that really. And that's where I think what I said earlier, that backs it up, really. That as a fourth division team, we struggled because we played too much football. Teams in the old fourth division were very direct and very physical. So we struggled physically, especially because a lot of us were still young lads at that point. But obviously in the European games, that ability to play football, you know, stood us in good stead. And, you know, if you can hold your own against Porto and you can hold your own against Roma, then you're doing okay at some point.
Exactly. I've got to say, I found this in a programme from the season you were with us, basically saying that we played at Wigan early in the season. And in their programme, they got your name wrong, and they said, like what they said, the Wrexham programme said, this is the printing mistake of the year. They said, unfortunately for Wrexham, Kevin agreed to join the racecourse setup. Now, we're playing Wigan on Saturday.
Maybe they knew something that we didn't. Oh, well, you owe one for me.
We'll try and get revenge on Saturday. Don't you worry about that. That was
Yes.
But I mean, Bobby Roberts was the manager.
Funny enough.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go on, go on, you carry on.
No, you go on. Go on.
So, I think when I found the two programs, I found a third program, and believe it or not, that was the Wigan home game.
Oh.
And I've kept that program, obviously for my memory. But yeah, and I didn't score. I think I only scored 4 goals that year for them. But I think one of them was in one of the games against Wigan. So they must have upset me enough for me to have scored a goal against them. Which was nice.
Served them right, didn't it? I reckon.
There you go.
I mean, Bobby
served them right. Yeah. Never upset the Welshman.
So true. I found a Wigan program actually from that season. Don't know if it's the same one.
There we are.
We had them in the cups as well. I seem to recall.
We did. We did. Yes, they had the sign overs. Bobby Roberts was a particularly lovely guy. Real football man. Loved his football. I mean, he must have been so proud to achieve what he did with his team in European football. And I to be honest with you, as I said, if I'm honest, didn't do myself justice for the year I was at Wrexham. That will always be something that I regret, and I would have liked the opportunity to have seen him last Friday and shaken his hand and thanked him, for that wonderful opportunity of joining Wrexham and playing those European games, but also just being part of a very special football club at the end of the day. And he was a big part of that because he was a particularly nice guy.
I felt very sorry for him because obviously he didn't last the whole season. And like you said, we didn't do well in the league. But, they brought him in to work with a very small budget and bring young players through. And you sort of feel like, with what he's achieved in Europe, he's a bit unlucky to lose out. I felt at the time.
I would agree 100%. At the end of the day, it was frustrating for everybody that we didn't really achieve in the league. But I really think it was because of those circumstances, us not being physical enough, big enough, because he created, at the end of the day, a wonderful football team, who played against 2 top European sides and didn't look out of place. So, that tells you its own story. And he should receive absolute massive credit for that because, it was him who encouraged us to play football and play a certain way. And that's why we did so well in Europe and possibly not so well in the Football League. Yeah. But we're talking now with the benefit of hindsight, So, Bobby Roberts, a very special man and should hold a very special place in the memory of Wrexham Football Club.
And it illustrates the situation that he was in when he was manager. But he does have one club record that'll probably never get broken. Was the season before you came, he had to play in goal for us. So he's our oldest ever player, even though as a player, he didn't play as a keeper. He was an outfield player. So, I mean, that's quite something, isn't it?
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, he should have a statue in that case.
Exactly.
I mean, that's above and beyond the level of service you would expect. There we are. Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah. But these stories are, are important to tell and to share. Yeah, I didn't know that, so that's something else I've known. I've learned today. And put it this way, it won't be 40 years before I come back to Wrexham again. What I enjoyed last week was something special, and I hope they get promotion this year. And hopefully, I will be there to see them in the Premier League in the not too distant future.
With Merthyr, obviously. No.
With Wrexham, I want to be. I would love to go to that ground and be a supporter and watch them in the Premier League.
No, I mean, the Welsh derby with Merthyr.
That's the ultimate dream.
That's what we need. Yeah.
This club is very ambitious. It's enjoying success again. In the FA Cup and in these English leagues. So yeah, it was never going to happen. But I do miss the Welsh Cup. The Welsh Cup for Wrexham gave us those opportunities of playing those 2 massive European games. It did the same at Merthyr. It gave us the opportunity when we beat Newport in the Welsh Cup of playing Atalanta. And that is regarded as probably one of the best results in Europe by any Welsh club back in the day. So this football club, I great memories at Wrexham, great memories at Merthyr Football Club. I'm a lucky man.
Oh gosh. Well, we're lucky to have the benefit of those memories, Kevin. I can't tell you how grateful I am. That was wonderful, reliving all those tales. So thank you so much. You'll always be welcome at Wrexham, and we wish Merthyr all the very best. Dial M for Merthyr.
ILM for Merthyr, that's right. Well, you know Johnny Owen, I assume.
Yes, yeah.
Johnny Owen is yeah. Well, Johnny Owen is a very good personal friend of mine. And just to finish on this one, Johnny Owen made a comment actually on radio about 18 months ago that his ambition was to take Merthyr, just like the Wrexham Hollywood boys, to the Premier League. And he made that as a throwaway comment on a radio program. And within 24 hours, he was contacted, and the club were contacted by a Merthyr boy who'd moved to Australia.
Oh.
Years ago, a very educated man who made a significant donation to the football club to rename our football ground here back as Pendarren Park, because it had been named a couple of things over the years through various sponsors. So we are hoping how it will take them. Reality says probably not, but then if you don't dream, how do you get where you want to go?
Exactly. So fantastic, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, we'll see you in the Prem. Yeah, so Kevin Rogers there again. Good luck, Merthyr. Next week, next Saturday, rather. Let's hope you come up, and we'll see you in the Prem, as Kevin and I suggested. Brilliant stuff. Chay, you pointed out there's a couple of interesting anniversaries, which actually were, well, the day we recorded this, Thursday.
LDV Vans. 2005, wasn't it? It was 2005, wasn't it? We won the LDV Vans on today, and also 2 years ago that epic Ben Foster Notts County game. So yeah, two really pivotal games, isn't they, in our history, Neil, especially the LDV Vans.
Yeah, the LDV Vans final was just a great day for the fans of Wrexham. We took over 20,000 there. It was a fantastic day. Went to extra time, and Wrexham won 2-0 added time. And who was in goal, Mark, for both games?
Javi Valero. Oh, Ben Foster, you're quite right. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? He makes that save in such a huge match, and then he's a young lad on loan to us, and helps it that loan spell. Essentially, got him a move to Man United, didn't it?
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson was watching us win the cup, and Darren Ferguson was in the team. That's why Alex was there, but Darren's there reporting back on him. And Dennis Smith was at the game on Saturday against Burton. It's my privilege to pop down into Bamford's and do a 10-minute interview with the ex-players that they have before the game. And so I got very excited when I found out it was Dennis. And he spoke really fondly of that day and what it meant to him. And he also spoke very frankly about the ownership situation then, and how great it was for the players to keep going and for the fans to keep going. But he was a wonderful manager, and it was important we had him at that time. It's amazing to think we had that wonderful victory, but we also went down that season. I would say demoted, not relegated, because we had 10 points knocked off because the two Daves took action to save the club, not to try and cheat the system, which is why the penalty was brought in. But yeah, if it wasn't for having someone like Dennis Smith in charge at that time, when the money was short and the club was in danger, we'd have been in trouble. And we owe Dennis Smith, I think, a huge debt of gratitude.
I think he was like one of the last of the real old school managers who managed everything, wasn't he? In many ways. A real true leader, wasn't he, Neil? And I think the perfect man for the perfect time, wasn't he?
He was. Obviously, at the time, resources were very thin on the ground, so we had to beg, borrow, and players coming into the club. And he did a superb job to to get us to that final in Cardiff. And just, we were going through tough times as a club and as fans at that time. And it was great just to go there with 20,000 of the Wrexham fans and celebrate a win, and that bit of extra income that came into the club for winning that trophy, the LDV Vans, I'm sure helped us get through that season and a couple more. It was just a great day out in Cardiff for anybody associated with Wrexham Football Club and Southend. They were great fans as well. They're going through tough times as well at the moment, so it's ironic, that we were struggling then and they helped us out a lot. And yeah, it was a good old day. And I've watched the Notts County replay a few times today, and I still get emotional about watching it. That Foster save at the end and Mullins' goal, and I still get emotional because that was a pivotal game, wasn't it? When for us to get promotion, and it was just a massive game in the history of where we are today.
You get emotional watching that on your phone because nobody in Shropshire understands how these pictures on the phone work, and you think that the actual people are tiny and inside your phone. That's why you get emotional, isn't it?
I do, yeah. I've got the two football players in my phone just playing football. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. I may be wrong on that, dear viewers.
You wait till after you Shropshire on, Mark. You just wait till you got to go to Shropshire on Sunday, mate. You be careful.
Fair enough. I've had me jabs. Don't worry. Dengue doesn't scare me. I ain't scared of no fucking mouth. Anyway, it was remarkable. You look at the players we had as well in that team. I mean, Foster, obviously. You got Roberts. You got Brian Carey. You got Carlos Edwards. Dennis
Ferguson.
So yeah,
Ferguson.
Yep, Ferguson. Andy Holt. Ugarte.
Oh, what a player!
Allen. Pedgick comes off the bench. Matty Crowell's in that midfield. Who's the third midfielder? Not on that. Some good players in that side, weren't there? Hector Sand didn't even come off the bench. But yeah, really, I mean, a proper side that we'd accumulated there. It was a hell of a day.
Oh yeah, it really was. It's one I started watching the club the 02-03 season, but I was really too young to remember everything about that LDV Vans win is so clear in my brain. It's one of my favourite moments as a Wrexham fan. And also the Ben Foster save. It's pretty crazy how it went full circle and how Ben Foster, as a young man and as a partly retired player, has come in and, been a part of the club when off the pitch we were a complete mess. And then he's come back and off the pitch we're the best we've probably ever been in our history. You couldn't write something like that, could you? You really couldn't write the penalty save. You couldn't write the fact that he won a trophy with us all those years. It seriously is like something out of a movie, and incredible. Two incredible, especially that Ben Foster penalty save will live with me for the rest of my life. Honestly, it was like in slow motion, and there is videos of our commentary from that day, which went viral. Absolute amazing classic moments. Brilliant.
They should make a TV show about all this, shouldn't they? Really? Netflix documentary. Netflix is like your phone, but the people are shrunk, but it's bigger than they are in your phone, Neil. Unless you watch it on your phone. In which case, ignore what I just said. The other thing, of course, I need to point out is that also means it's our anniversary today, because that was the first game I did a Final Whistle podcast from. And therefore, that's why we can say we are the oldest football podcast in the world, because there were a handful, 2 or 3 podcasts about football at the time, all in the States. none of which exist anymore. The Guardian and the Times launched theirs in the summer after that season. So, we are the oldest football podcast in the world, as I keep banging on about. So happy birthday to us. Hurrah!
Of course. Yeah, that is something quite special. Head of your time, Mark, definitely.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I was always on the cutting edge. Maybe I've travelled back from the future to bring you all knowledge, but also a terrible warning.
And something else that's ahead of its time and completely fantastic, and I'm very, very jealous that I'm not going on Saturday, are the pies in Wigan. Mark O'Neill, I want one of you to buy a butter pie if you can and give me a proper review, because it's on one of my bucket lists of food, a butter pie, because I've heard so much.
Nice.
Well, Mark can bring one back for you, can't he? There you go.
Theoretically, but I'm getting a lift, so I'm always reluctant when I'm getting a lift from someone to treat them like an Uber. So if they sell them at the ground, Jay, you'll get a cold butter pie.
Rammed
Neil, through your letterbox.
Neil, what will you get yourself a butter pie? They have something called a Wigan kebab as well, don't they?
Oh, go on. That sounds threatening.
It's a pie in a bap and with something called pea wet, which is the juice from mushy peas.
Oh,
yeah,
sounds good.
Well, of course, mushy peas, it varies massively depending where you get it from, doesn't it? So you go that sort of area, and mushy peas are fantastic. Get them out of a tin, they're by comparison really a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I must say, the best food I've had, guys, was when we went to Blackburn away in the FA Cup. They had some superb food outside the ground. Oh. Yeah. So if that's anything to go by, Wigan's just down the road, so it should be just as good. Look forward to this butter pie.
Nice one.
Neil, we need a little bit of a taste test video, but like bring it back to old school comms, because I want to see what it's like.
You can't say that, Che, because Neil is scared of trapping himself inside his phone, isn't he? The other thing, of course, from Wigan, that Wigan is famous for, is Uncle Joe's mint balls, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
So I'll bring some of those back as well if you want. Make your own jokes amongst yourselves.
We're kind of talking like Wigan's some sort of
metropolis,
like a land from far, far away, aren't we? So
it's the roots of England.
It is.
I'm looking forward to it now. Man,
yeah.
I thought Shropshire was exotic.
Bill's going though, Cheney.
Yeah, Bill's going. Yeah, I've got my lad, so I can't go, unfortunately. But it's a 12:30 kickoff, so I should be able to watch it, hopefully.
Nice one. Right, well, we better wrap it up there. Like I will the butter pie that I'll be shoving through your letterbox later. Always a pleasure, chaps. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, always enjoyed the insults, Mark. Thank you.
Good. I'll keep them coming. No problem, Neil.
Sorry, the small people in the phone thing. It's kind of written me off, but I think that's a great. That's a great. Last question, absolute last question. Right, let's wrap it up on this. Is it red sauce or brown sauce on your pie?
Brown.
No sauce on a pie.
Brown. Yeah. No, I'm for no sauce as well. Yeah.
In Australia, Australian viewers and listeners, I hope will back me up on this. They'll sell mincemeat pies, and the slots you cut into the top to let the steam come out through the pastry. They'll get the mincemeat pie, get a squeezy bottle of tomato ketchup, stick the spout into the hole, and squeeze in to give a shot of tomato ketchup inside the pie, and that is why we keep them the whole length of the world away from us.
Ideally gravy, though. Ideally gravy with a pie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair point.
no, I
I'd
agree
be
with that.
inclined to agree with that.
And not liquor like they do in London, because that is awful.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's weird. I
yeah.
quite like it, but it's nice with eels and mash, though.
Oh, I know we're going completely off topic here. Well, not off topic for us. It's right on topic for us.
Yeah.
But
On brand,
I have
this.
pie mash and liquor. It's the last thing proper in the East End in London last summer, and I think it was the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten in my life. So,
Really? Right.
yeah.
I like a bit of vinegar on it, which maybe tells
guys,
I don't like the actual flavour of the liquor, but the flavour of the vicar is a completely different thing.
if we get promoted again, guys, we'll be off down to Millwall next year. So,
oh yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Oh,
I've had
If they
some
don't get
experiences there.
that sounds like fun.
It does, doesn't it? Fair dues.
Yeah.
Savaloy's there, I guess. The liquor is the drain off that they cook the eels in, mixed with parsley, and then for some reason put onto a mincemeat pie, like the Australian ones I mentioned. It is a bit of an odd combination, but you know, who am I to argue with the craze?
Exactly.
Yeah, precisely. We should probably finish this. Oh, I should say though, I did like squeezing the tomato ketchup into the Australian pie. Yeah. And on that bombshell, should we leave? Let people get on with their lives.
Let's.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Nice one. Neil, watch out for the little people. Everyone else, this was Final Whistle Weekly.